Hi, Astronomy. Mr. Janowski here. As promised, I'm going to make a video now to show you how to do the math to solve a Chapter 4 math problem. That's not a very elegant way to say it, but it'll do. All right, so I'm going to show you a four-step procedure. So the first step is what in physics I've been calling step huh. Step huh means make sure that you understand what thing you're actually looking for. And in this case, we're dealing with symbols. So what is the symbol of the thing we're looking for? And what units do you expect it to have? Step two is to pick a formula that meets two criteria. One is the formula you pick has to have the thing you're looking for. Otherwise, that formula can't solve for the thing you're looking for. And the other thing is you need to know the values of all of the other things in that formula. Now, in this particular case, there's only one formula we're dealing with. So, step two, picking a formula, is going to be very straightforward. Step three, if necessary, do the algebra until the thing that you're looking for is by itself on one side of the equal sign and not divided by 1. So what that means is solve for the thing and have that thing by itself and don't have it on the bottom of a fraction. So like I've written here, if you're solving for x, x equals something, well, that's good. If you have 1 over x equals something, that's bad because you're not solving for the inverse of x, you're solving for x. And then step four, which is the thing that many of you might find challenging if you haven't taken a lot of science classes and learned to use scientific notation in the calculator, is you have to do the calculator work. So I'll spend some time doing that. In particular, you really want to know how to use the EE button, which is enter exponent, on your calculator. So I'll show you how to do that using a TI-84 because that's, the calculator that the math department gives out. It's probably the one that you're most familiar with. It's not my favorite calculator, but it's a very common one. And we'll use this procedure to solve two different problems. So these are exactly like the two problems you will get on the quiz that was assigned today. However, I've changed the numbers, so you've got to do those problems by yourself. But as you'll see, it's not that hard. So those are the two problems. Let's get started with the first of the two problems. So what is the energy of a photon with a wavelength of 450 nanometers? A nanometer is 10 to the minus ninth meters. So 450 nanometers is 450 times 10 to the minus ninth meters. So the first thing, step huh. What are you looking for and what is its symbol? All right, well, just read the question carefully. What is the energy? We want energy. What is the symbol of energy? It's E. So really what we're doing here, this is really how I would start out a problem in physics class too. Step huh. We want E equals something. So E equals question mark. And the units, the units are going to be joules. That's what we're looking for. I don't know if I even mentioned that in astronomy, but joules are the units for energy. Step two, pick a formula that meets the following criteria. Let's just skip step two. There's only one formula. This is the formula we're going to use. Step three, if necessary, do algebra until the thing that you're looking for is by itself on one side of the equal sign. Well, remember, the thing we're looking for is E. E is already by itself on one side of the equal sign. So not really necessary. So we've got that already. Now, step four, do the calculator work. This might be a little bit tricky. So if we look at this slide, what we want is to figure out E. So I'll write it in blue. So the formula we have is E is equal to HC over lambda. Okay, and again, that funny symbol looks like an upside down Y. That's the Greek letter lambda, and that's our symbol for wavelength. So E equals HC over lambda. Okay, now H is this number here. It's Planck's constant. It's a constant throughout the universe. And C is the speed of light. So that's that number there. So what we want to get in the calculator is this idea. 6.63 times 10 to the minus 34th. And don't worry about the units. I'll just leave the units off here. We want this multiplied by C, and C is 3.00 times 10 to the 8th meters per second. And this is divided by the wavelength lambda. And lambda is this number. So to plug it into this formula, it needs to be in units of meters. So you want this version of it. So all of this divided by 450 times 10 to the minus ninth. So if you can get that idea in the calculator, you're golden. It's easy. If you haven't used the EE function on your calculator a lot, it may be tricky. Now, one thing I can point out, if you're really, really stubborn and feel like you don't want to learn the EE function, you can put parentheses around every single thing like this, and your calculator will do the order of operations that you think it's doing, probably. But why not just learn how to use the EE button? So here's how you would use the EE button on one of these guys here. So the first thing we want is 6.63 times 10 to the minus 34th. So what you're going to hit is 6.63. And then how do we do this times 10 to the minus 34th? We need to use the EE function. So if we look at this calculator here, here is where it says EE. So this is the second function of this button here, which I think that's a comma. I don't know. I don't have one of these calculators. So we're going to need to use this button as well. So to get 6.63 times 10 to the minus 34th, you type 6.63, then you hit the button that says second, and then you hit the button that says comma. And then you're going to hit this button right here. This is how you do the minus. So not the subtraction button. So not this guy, but the button that looks like this. It's going to minus in parentheses, and then you hit 34. So that part right there, I can do this with underlining. This idea right here is this. So you have it. Now we want to multiply this by 3 times 10 to the 8th. So the next thing you're going to do, I'll switch to green now, is hit the multiply button. So you've got a button that's this, and then you want 3.00, and then same thing. We want to get to EE. So then you're going to hit the button that says second, and then the button that says comma. I think that's a comma, whatever this thing is. And then you're going to hit 8. So now this idea here is what we have here. Well, actually, we have there. I guess not the multiplication. So you could hit enter at this point, and that would give you the numerator, but you don't have to do that. So the next thing we want is to divide by this part here. So the next thing you're going to do is, I wish I had more room going side to side to do this, is hit the division button. So you hit that, and we want to divide by 450 times 10 to the minus ninth. So divide by 450, and then we want to hit the second button again. And then we want to hit the comma button, because that's how we get to EE. And then minus 9. So we want to hit the negative button. And then 9. So if you do all that, and then finally you hit the equal sign or the enter. Okay, on this calculator it's enter. So after all this, you're going to hit the button that says enter. Boop. Which, you know what, it's lowercase, whatever. And if you do this, so let me do this on my calculator, 6.63 EE minus 34 times 3.00 EE. Actually, you know what? Let me take it from the top so that I'm not lying to you. My calculator, I don't have to hit second to get to EE. It has its own EE button. So I'll try to do this again, and I'll speak what you should do if you have a TI-84. So 6.63 second, and then second, and then comma, and then the negative button, and then 34, and then the multiplication button, and then 3.00, and then the second button, and then the comma button, and then the 8, and then you hit divide by, And then you're going to hit 450. And then the second button and the comma button. And then the minus button, and then 9, and you're going to hit enter. So on my calculator, if I do all of this, the final answer it gives me is, well, I'll tell you what it looks like on the screen. I guess I should start there. What it looks like on the screen is 4.42 E minus 19. So that's what my screen looks like. Something like this. And honestly, I'm not sure if it would look exactly the same on a TI 84. But on my TI 36X Pro, that's what it looks like. So what does this number actually mean? Even though it's the EE button, when it puts it on the screen, it just writes E. So 4.42 E minus 19 is really the same thing as 4.42 times 10 to the minus 19th. And the units for this thing is going to be joules. So yeah, that's how you do one of those problems. So on the quiz, this would be one of your multiple choice answers, is this. 4.42 times 10 to the minus 19th joules. So that's how you do that one. Now, the other problem we were going to do is what color of light has photons with an energy of 6.10 times 10 to the minus 19th joules? Okay, so again, what are we looking for? So we're looking for the color. Okay. So we're looking for color. Okay. How are we going to get to the color? We're going to get to the color by knowing the wavelength. So what we really want is lambda equals something nanometers. If we have the something in nanometers, we can look at this chart here, find the number that we've just calculated, and then look straight above that, and that'll tell us the color of the thing. So yeah, this one's a little bit more abstract, but that's how you're going to figure out the color. So that's what we're looking for. Step 2, pick the formula. No surprise, it's going to be this formula. All right, step 3, if necessary, do the algebra until the thing that you're looking for is by itself on one side of the equal sign. So the thing we're looking for is lambda. So let me go to the next screen. Oh, I didn't put the thing on the next screen. I'll do it on this screen. The thing we're looking for is lambda. So we're starting with this equation. E is equal to hc over lambda. We want to get lambda by itself and on the top. We don't want 1 over lambda. So how am I going to get lambda by itself? The first thing I'm going to do is multiply both sides by lambda. And the reason I do that is on the right side, I have something over lambda times lambda. So on this side, on the right side, those things are just going to cancel. And that's going to leave me with lambda times E is equal to HC. So I'm almost there. I almost have lambda by itself. The next thing you want to do is divide both sides by E. Because if you divide both sides by E, E is going to disappear on the left-hand side. And this is going to leave us with lambda is equal to HC over E. So lambda equals HC over E. Now again, H and C are constants that we know. There's H. No, there's H. There's C. And E is the energy of this photon. And that is this number. So what we really want is 6.63 times 10 to the minus 34th. And it's got units too, but I'm being lazy about the units. Times our number for C, 3.00 times 10 to the 8th. And all of this divided by E. And E is 6.10 times 10 to the minus 19th joules. And, I regret writing joules there. We'll lose the joules. So if we can get our calculator to do this, then you're golden. So the way you would do this, This time I'm going to show you how to do it on my calculator, a TI 36X. 36X Pro. It's actually a different calculator. It's annoying. So what I would type to get this on mine is 6.63, and then I have an EE button. This is why I like this calculator so much. I don't have to hit second and then something else. I just hit EE on my calculator. It saves me a little bit of time. Sounds like a small thing, but if you're taking a lot of science classes, that makes a difference. You'll make far fewer typos. So 6.63 EE minus, and then 34. And again, if you've got one of these calculators, you don't have a dedicated EE button. You have to hit second and then comma. But on my calculator, it's easier. I can do that with one step. Hitting that one button is the same thing as hitting second and then comma on the other calculator. So where do we go from here? We want to multiply this by 3.00 times 10 to the 8th. So the next thing we're going to hit is the multiplication button. And then 3.00. And then the EE button again. So the point of the EE button is it's easier to do scientific notation that way. And your calculator will do the order of operations in a more logical way if you do it that way. So just trust me, that's the better way to do it. All right, so if I do all this, that would give me the numerator of this, and I want to divide that by 6.10 times 10 to the minus 19th. So the next thing I would hit is the divide by button, and then 6.10, and then the EE button, and then the minus button, or the negative button. Sorry, it's not the subtraction button, it's the button that looks like that, and then 19. And then at the end of all that, you hit the enter button. So let me do that now. 6.63 EE minus 34 times 3.00 EE 8 divided by 6.10 EE minus 19, and I hit enter. All right, so my calculator has given me a number. Did I get that right? Let me see if I got that right. My calculator has given me a number. No, I goofed somehow. Let me try that again. Oh, there it is. I missed the decimal point. 6.63 EE minus 34 times 3.00 EE 8 divided by 6.10 EE minus 19. So what my calculator is telling me, and apparently I goofed when I picked these numbers, my screen looks like this: 0.6 zeros, and then it says 326. All right, so that's what my screen looks like. So what kind of answer is that? First of all, I must have goofed when I first set up this problem, because now I've done it twice and I keep getting the wrong answer. So I picked this number wrong. Stupid me. Too bad. This video is too long. I'm not doing it again. So I've got this number. All right, first of all, that's a 0, not a 6. Just going off the tracks here. So what kind of number is this? Well, that is my answer in meters. My scale down here, everything is in units of nanometers. So I need to switch. So how would I do that? Well, 1 meter. Let me do it the other way. 1 nanometer is the same thing as 1 times 10 to the minus 9th meters. So if I'm looking at this, if I move my decimal place over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, this number in meters would be the same thing as 326 nanometers. So here's where I goofed. What color of light is 326 nanometers? Well, that would be over here somewhere. What color of light is this? It's not a color of visible light at all. It's something in the UV. So unfortunately, when I set this problem up and I picked new numbers, I must have made a typo there because I keep getting the wrong answer here. But yeah, what color of light would this be? Well, it's to the left of the violet. That means it's ultraviolet. So what color is it? It's ultraviolet. And so again, I'm a little embarrassed about having goofed that way. But on the other hand, this video is getting pretty long already, and I don't feel like doing it again. So we're just going to go with it. That's how you do these problems. Come to my office hours on Wednesday if you're having trouble, and we can do an example then. So hopefully you found that helpful, despite my stupid little goof.